Hello, my lovelies. Today we're going to be talking about Raising the Horseman, which is by Serena Valentino. It is about the great-great-great-something-great-granddaughter of Katrina Van Tassel, who is involved in the tale of Sleepy Hollow. There is a mixture of both mystery, fantastical elements, and very real-world subjects in this book. And we follow along this journey. There is a cute little romance between the two female leads, and for that part, it was cute. But for the rest of it, we're going to talk about it. Without any further ado, grab a snack, grab a drink, and let's jump into it. Roll the intro. Welcome back. Now, I'm going to read you the insert of this book so you can be introduced to what I was first introduced to before reading this book. Beware the Horseman. The 200th anniversary of the Headless Horseman's legendary haunting of Sleepy Hollow is fast approaching, but Kat Von Tassel wants nothing to do with the town's superstitious celebrations. As a descendant of the original Katrina Van Tassel, Kat knows that she's expected to live up to her ancestors' legacy by someday marrying her longtime boyfriend and running the prestigious family estate. But Kat dreams of a life outside of Sleepy Hollow. When Kat meets Isadora, a new girl in town who challenges Kat and to re-examine those expectations, she opens her eyes to the possibility that ghosts are real and makes her question who she truly is and who she wants to be with. When Kat is given the original Katrina's diary, a new legend begins to take shape. One that weaves together in the past and the present in eerie ways. Can Kat uncover a 200-year-old secret and trace its shocking reverberations in her own life, in time to protect what she truly loves? This ghastly novel comes from New York Times bestselling author of Disney's Villains series that reimagines the legend of Sleepy Hollow through a modern lens. So, every family tree has skeletons. Kat's just seems to happen to be headless. The back art is actually really cool on this book. Let me show you. This back art is actually really cool with this big tree. And then here's the cover art. I think this was really cool too. But as for the book itself, the world building is really interesting to me. I really like the world building of this book and how we kind of parallel between the first Katrina back in Sleepy Hollow, like the Legend of Sleepy Hollow days, and then like her great whatever it is ancestor named Katrina, because there's also this whole thing that like in her will the first Katrina mentions that for any ancestor to inherit the estate, that the firstborn daughter must be named Katrina, and that's how it's gotten through her whole family, is like each one of her relatives are called Katrina. So her mom is named Katrina, but she goes by just Trina, and Kat goes by Kat. And a lot of the people in town say that she's a lot like the first Katrina for her own good. She's too much like her. And that she's different from all the other Katrinas, because all the other Katrinas are blonde and really thin and, you know, like really typically pretty. And this Kat, the Kat that we follow, is really tall. She's not short like the rest of the Katrinas before her. She's really tall, really lanky. She got her dad's blackish dark hair. And she comes across Isadora, who is the newcomer to town, and all these different things are really going together that parallel the first Katrina's diary. And the more that Isadora and Kat read this diary, the more weird and supernatural begins to happen. In terms of world building, there was a lot of really cool building blocks for a kind of thing, but like this book does this thing where it's trying to juggle both the really fantastical and supernatural kind of things in with a very modern setting. And It doesn't even feel like a fictional town. Like, it feels like a fictional town, but the town of Sleepy Hollow, I'm pretty sure, is a real place. It felt like they were both trying to ground this in the real world, as well as making this like a alternate version of Sleepy Hollow, where these kind of things happen all the time. I felt like it didn't juggle it perfectly. I see what they were trying to do. It didn't juggle it perfectly. And sometimes it really did kind of take me out of this book. Because at the same time, we have trees bleeding on people and specters talking to people in their sleep. We have discussions of gaslighting and homophobia and texting. I don't know why the texting bothered me for some reason. I don't know why. Just me, though. But it felt like there was a lot of really cool building blocks. Like the whole thing of going between Katrina's point of view, the first Katrina's point of view, and how that parallels to the future. And how she is still helping her descendant all these years later. That whole thing was really, really interesting. I think my favorite parts of this book were seeing those parallels between the past and the present. Those were really cool. I liked being in Katrina's, the first Katrina's diary quite a lot. And I found the town to be like really kind of interesting. But it didn't do it perfectly. I don't exactly know how to articulate exactly how I felt about it, but it was obvious, and I did persevere, and I read this all in one day, but it was hard to ignore. I think that's all I'm gonna say. Like, I would have wished if this was like in a fictional town of Sleepy Hollow, and that's what this felt like, but it didn't do it all the way to me in some way. Well, now as we talk about the characters are all so good. I loved all the characters. I think I found the first Katrina herself to be the most interesting, but her future counterpart is just as interesting. And I really liked Isadora as a character, as well as a romantic interest for the future Katrina, or Kat. And I found their whole thing really cute, but it felt rushed. I feel like this book would have benefited from maybe 100 to 150 pages more, just so we could flush things out a lot smoother, because there was a lot of things in this book that I felt were not explained, that should have been explained a little bit more, that should have revealed a little bit more. This romance between these two should have been a lot more flushed out, because it feels like they meet and they have this like meet cute moment where they both like each other, but then it almost seems like they're admitting their feelings to each other almost 2 chapters later, and they keep acknowledging that they just met and that they shouldn't feel this way, but yet they just get together shortly after Katrina finds out that her current boyfriend is actually a real dick and is gaslighting her. There's a whole discussion about gaslighting in this book, which I felt was a good thing to talk about. I felt like it was kind of misplaced. You could have had the subtlety about the gaslighting in there without just blatantly saying it. I don't know why, it felt weirdly placed in the story. I don't think it was a bad thing to bring up. I don't think it was a bad thing to include. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like it could have been executed a little better. That's all I'm going to say about that. So, she just breaks up with this boyfriend of hers, and then she almost instantly starts kissing Isadora. And I felt like their romance would have benefited greatly from a little bit more, like maybe Isadora helping her through this breakup and dropping little hints that she likes her, and maybe going for coffee dates or out to the cemetery to look for a gravestone of someone that was mentioned in the diary and had some kind of like token, or maybe there's a locket. Actually, the Horseman gives the first Katrina's locket to the current Katrina. I think maybe if that would have been like a cute little date they were on, was like not just sitting by this tree that they always go to, but like open up the world a little bit more and bring in the cemetery, explain more about the cemetery, because quite a couple scenes take place in the cemetery. So why not like explore more of the cemetery, explain more about that, or maybe find the locket on the tombstone while they're on this date and be like, oh, that's really nice. And then like she opens it up later and finds Katrina's picture in it and realizes that, oh crap, maybe this was left to me by the horseman, or something like that. We didn't even get an explanation as to who the horseman was. It's implied that the horseman could be any kind of one of these love interests for the first Katrina. And it turns out that he's not actually like a love interest at all. And we don't actually get an explanation for who he is. Maybe we find the locket on an unmarked grave. There's already one unmarked grave that belongs to Ichabod Crane in this book. Why couldn't we have had a little bit more fleshing out? I feel like this book would have really greatly benefited more from a little bit more fleshing out, story-wise. Maybe 100 to 150 pages more would have made this book so much better to me. It was good as it was. I just feel like I would have liked it a hell of a lot more and would have had a better score for this book if things weren't brought up or teased or kind of dropped in there and then just never explained. Because it's implied that the first Katrina and the horseman have this really deep relationship to the point that they work together to help get rid of Ichabod Crane way back when. But all the horseman says is that he heard Katrina's, pinings and her dreams, and that he heard her tears and stuff, and he just wanted to protect her, and he found himself falling in love with her and wanting to make her life the happiest it could be and protect her in any way that he could. But we don't even get any explanation about that, and it's also teased that there might be more books, and I hope there's more books. I hope there is more books. Because I would like some more explanations. It felt like there was a lot of things dropped in here that could have been, that could be really great for a sequel. Or 2 or 3 more books. And I would read them. I actually really liked the writing style of this book. I think that Serena Valentino, I haven't really read any of her other books. But I have seen the little square Disney villains books. I've seen them quite often at Walmart. I've heard they're really good. I haven't had a chance to pick one up. They're always gone at my store, or they're always the same one that just I don't feel interested in reading. I think it's the Cruella one that's always at my store, and I would I'm not really the biggest fan of Cruella, so anyone that hurts puppies. No. And that's not even in the fun villain way. That's just, you're just not a good person. Anyway, done with my Cruella rant there. I feel like this would have benefited from more exposition, but I will forgive it if we are going to get more books. If we're going to get more of this, I will read every single one. Because this also gave me the kind of vibe of, and hear me out. It's also a book that was done by Disney on Hyperion Press, but back when I was a kid. And this is the Ridley Pearson Kingdom Keepers books. And if you don't know, I am one of the biggest Kingdom Keepers fans ever. I have adored that series since I was a kid. And the reason why this kind of reminded me of Ridley Pearson a little bit was that there was as someone also that is a huge fan of Sleepy Hollow and the whole legend and everything, there was a lot of subtle references to little Sleepy Hollow fandom things that I picked up on that were just oh my god, that's awesome! And I can tell that the author also truly loves this story as much as I do. And it was really cute to see that the teacher at Ichabod Crane High, the principal's name is Mr. Toad, and he says to Katrina to prepare for the upcoming exams because they're gonna be a wild ride. I was living for that. I see that, Serena Valentino. I see that. That was awesome. Also mentioning Washington Irving, who wrote the original Sleepy Hollow book, as well as the Tale of Rip Van Winkle. If you don't know about the Tale of Rip Van Winkle, it's actually a poem or a short story about a man that sits under a tree. He's like a young soldier, and then he wakes up and he's in a whole new country, which is actually an interpretation of going from being a colony to a country with the revolution that made America what it is, you know, the founding. So it's actually a really cute and historical little tale. Well, not cute, kind of sad. I don't know, I haven't read it in a while. I thought it was kind of sad and cute at the same time when I was a kid, and I was big into it. But yeah, same author as the Sleepy Hollow legend. And I've seen so many little Sleepy Hollow Easter egg things in there, like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, which is a ride that used to be at Disney World. I have talked about this, I think, on this channel in my Dark Disney series. I think I did talk briefly about Mr. Toad's Wild Ride in one of my videos. I have a playlist. Go look on my Dark Disney playlist. But there was like little hints, like mentioning Washington Irving and Mr. Toad's, like those were great. So what am I gonna give this book? I feel like I keep saying it, but I feel sad. I feel disappointed. There's so much here that is so good. Like, this whole supernatural elements thing is like, I wish it would have been explained a little bit more. I want that to be explained a little bit more. Pardon me. I want that to be explained a little bit more because there's so much here that is so good. I was interested in all of this. There was just a few clunky gears. I feel like if this just gets a little bit more grease, this will be so good. And I hope that analogy doesn't bother some people. This is how my brain works, okay? Moving on. But I want so much for this to be good. I wanted this to be good because there's not a lot of Headless Horseman love out there, and I feel like the Headless Horseman deserves a lot more love. Okay? But I wanted this to be so good, and there was so much of it that was so good. I do recommend this book if you want to read it. It was really cute to me. I feel like you're gonna notice some things with it, but I feel like the world building and everything, there's so many little things that are there. They're just tasty little, of what could have been kind of things to me about this book. It was good as it is. It's good as it is, but I feel like it would have been excellent if it had the benefit of more books, or maybe even another short little story or something. If we get something, I will give this a really good score. But if this is all we're gonna get, I'm sadly disappointed. Like, I am really disappointed. Kind of sad. Just sad. Because there's so much in this book that I really liked. And I can't pinpoint exactly what it is, but I feel like if people read this, I feel like they will understand what I'm saying. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Because normally when I go on these book rants, I feel like I'm just spouting nonsense. So I hope there's someone out there that understands what I'm saying. So if you're out there, hi. Yeah. This was cute. The characters are all really good. I feel like I really liked the whole mystery part of it. I just wish it would have been a little bit longer. A little bit more fleshed out, and this would have been so much better. So as it is, if we get more books, I will of course pick them up and I will read them. I hope this isn't just going to be like a one and done kind of thing. I feel like the author also is very passionate about this story and about the world of Sleepy Hollow and the whole mythos around it. I feel like she is passionate. And I feel like if we got more books, this would be so great. it would be amazing. I feel like this could span for at least 4 books before it got old, because I feel like there's a lot you could work in here and into the mythos. And this is a good springboard. Like, this is a good springboard. It opened up a lot of plot holes and it gave me a lot of questions. And I still have questions. So, if this does get made into more books, I'll give it an 8. It's a good jumping point. But if this is all we're gonna get, it's a 6. So, that's what I got for you guys. I know this was probably really long, but I'm so passionate about the mythos of Sleepy Hollow and the whole character. The Ichabod and Mr. Toad cartoon when I was a kid was like one of my favorites. I still love it to this day, so it holds a little special place in my heart. So whenever I see like a book about the Headless Horseman and it's not smut, and I'm like, yes, give this to me. I want this. I want more of this. I need more of this. So when I read this, I had not high expectations, because a lot of the books I've read about the Headless Horseman recently have just been smut. And I don't even make reviews on them because I tend to just DNF halfway through before I realize they're just going to be pure smut for the sake of it. So that's just me. If you like smut, go out there. Read that. Good for you. I laugh at it. But there's so many building blocks here that could have made this book so much better, and I'm done talking about it, or else I'll go on another 20-minute rant. So, if Serena Valentino is out here, bravo. You opened such a wonderful door, but I feel like it needs to be opened just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. So, I hope there's going to be more books. I will read them. I will read Isadora and Cat for at least 4 more books. So, if you're out there, I loved this. I just feel like it would have been a little bit better if you would have expanded it just a tiny bit more. So, that's what I got for you guys. I love you all so, so much, and I hope you have the best day. Bye.